I just heard this pretty good sermon from Andy Stanley, and it was on Matthew chapter 25, talking about the parable of the talents. And I've heard this message before, but this morning I just heard it in a new way, and I wanted to just shoot a quick video about it and put it on the podcast as well. Matthew chapter 25, starting at verse 14, it says, "For it is like, speaking of the kingdom, a man who went about on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted them with his possessions. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to the man's ability. For he went on his journey." So the story starts with this owner giving to his servants different amount of money. There's debate about how much a talent was worth. Some people think a talent is worth 20 years worth of wages, which is a lot of money. So to one he gave 5. That would be like 100 years worth of wages. This man had to be filthy rich. Now, this is a story that Jesus told, so it was a parable. And so it was something, the story that Jesus either made up, or usually parables are made up stories to teach a point. And so this rich man gave money to his servants, not for them to have, but for them to manage. He says, "Here's some money for you to manage. I want you to go invest this." And he gave it to them based on their ability. He said, "Here you go. Here's some money. I want you to go invest. I'm going on a journey far away, and when I come back, I got some expectations," basically, is what he said. And so he gives this money to these servants. One he gave 5, one he gave 2, one he gave 1. And one of the things that came to mind right away is that's not fair. You know, people always talk about fairness, how life isn't fair, and the truth is life isn't fair. But it is fair to someone. It is fair to the one who gave them. The owner had the right to give whatever he wanted to whoever he wanted to, because it was his. That's what it means when you're an owner. So it's fair to someone. But as we look at this story, you think it's not fair. How come he didn't give them all the same amount? Well, number one, life isn't fair. Number two, it says in the passage that he gave it to them based on their ability. So this owner knew something about their abilities, their capacity to not just take the money and hide it. He wasn't telling them to guard it with a gun or anything like that. He was telling them to go invest it. And so the reality is, life isn't fair because everybody's not on the same playing field. Now, everyone has the same value and worth, but everybody's not the same ability. Like, I don't have the same ability at investing as, what's that dude's name, that famous dude, Warren Buffett. I don't have the same capacity to invest money and make money based on investments. But in the same way, Warren Buffett doesn't have the ability that I've been given to go work with kids. I would love to see him playing tetherball with a bunch of kindergartners. Now, it's not an issue of comparison, it's just the issue of that we're different. And so this master understood that, and so he gave the money, or the talents, the measurement of money, to each servant based on his own ability. Well, what happened? Look at verse 16. "Immediately, the one who had received 5 talents went and traded with them and gained 5 more talents." So the one who had 5 went and invested it, traded, did whatever he needed to do, and he gained back 5 more, so now he has 10. In the same manner, the one who had received 2 talents gained 2 more talents. Now, this is kind of a funny thing that they just gained exactly, they got like 100% return on what they invested. He invested 5, he got 5 more back, he has 10. The second one invested 2, got 2 more back, now he has 4. Well, look at the third one. "But the one who received 1 talent went away and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money." So the third guy took it and just held on to it, hid it, didn't invest it, didn't take any risk. Now, some people think risk is wrong. I think risk is valuable. We should take risk. We should invest what we've been given. Not ill-advised risk, not just going to gamble blindly, but to invest everything that we've got. But this guy didn't do that. This guy chose to simply go and dig and put all what he was given in a hole. Now, as I think about that, it makes me think about not using the word talent as far as talents, but let's use gifts. Like, these guys were given a treasure, something valuable to invest. In the same way, I believe God has given us all gifts and abilities, not to hoard to ourselves, not to keep, but to invest in His kingdom. To invest, to bring a return back. And that doesn't always mean simply just in church or just in the church world. For example, God may give you ability to be a great, smart doctor. Does that mean you only work with Christian patients? God may give you ability to be an awesome businessman. Does that mean you only do Christian businesses? Or do you go out in the world and use your abilities to make money, but making sure that you understand that money doesn't make you who you are? And being able to invest that in different ways. I remember sitting down with a missionary, and he runs his own ministry, and he said he had a chance to sit down with a bunch of businessmen, Christian businessmen who made a lot of money, and he said this to them: my ministry needs your money, and your money needs my ministry. I've never forgot that, because no matter what we have, it's all God's. And what he was saying was, businessman, you made a lot of money and God has given you the ability. How are you investing it? And your money needs a vehicle like my ministry to build God's kingdom. And so I really like that statement. It made a lot of sense to me, because no matter what we have, we're to use it for the glory of God. Because everything is for the glory of God. Whether you eat or drink, whatever you do all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. So you have three people. One who invested and got 5 back. Second one invested, got 2 back. And the third one who simply dug a hole. Now, how do you connect faith and life with this? That's what I'm talking about all the time. Mr. Brown, Proclaim Ministries, helping you connect faith and life. What does this mean, connecting faith and life? How can we apply this story to our lives? My first thought when I read this, and I'm going to read the rest of the passage, is I remember growing up, there were people in the church who had good voices. There were people who could sing. I was not among those people. But there were some girls who had this beautiful voice, but they'd be all shy, like, oh, I don't want to sing, I don't want to lead that song. And, like him and Han not wanting to use their gift, whether because they were shy or just because they, I don't know why, but they didn't want to. And I remember my grandmother saying this: if you don't use it, you'll lose it. If you don't use that gift that God has given you, that talent God has given you, that gift, whatever it is, if you don't use it, you might actually lose it. And I don't know what she meant, that they would lose their voice or lose their capacity or even opportunity to use it. But I think all are true. When you don't use a gift, you might not be able to use it long term. You might not be able to continue using that gift. Number 2, you might lose your opportunity to use it. The opportunity you have to use it, that window of time, will be gone. And so I think what I got from this parable this morning, as I listened to it and I read the passage, was to use what you got to the glory of God. To use everything God has given you. Invest in your time, your treasures, your talent, your skills, your abilities, everything that you have invested to the glory of God. Because look what happened in this story with this master. Jesus tells the story. He says, the master came to call an account to his servants. So when he came back, he said, hey servants, what's going on? What'd you do with what I gave you to invest? Now after a long time, master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. The one he had received 5 talents came up and brought 5 more talents, saying, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. See, I have gained 5 more talents. So he said, hey, you gave me 5, I'm giving you 5 back. His master said to him this: well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of the master. The master was pleased with the servant investing and the return he got on the investment. He was faithful, the master said. Look at verse 22. Also, the one who had received 2 talents came up and said, Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more talents. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. 2 for 2. 2 of the guys did great. Let's talk about the third guy. Verse 24 of Matthew chapter 25. The one who had received the 1 talent came and said, Master, I knew you were a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, gathering where you did not scatter, you scattered no seed. And I was afraid and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. I don't know if this guy thought, when Jesus telling the story, was he trying to communicate the point that this last guy thought he did good? See, here's what you gave me. This is what you gave me. I'm giving it back to you. Well, listen to what the master said to him. Verse 26. But his master answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy slave. You knew that I reaped where I did not sow, that I gathered where I did not scatter seed. Then you ought to have to put my money in the bank, and on my arrival, I would have received my money back with interest. So the master said, basically, you knew these things about me. You knew that I had high expectations for you. You knew I wanted to get something back, and you allowed fear to control you, and not the truth of what I expected back. Because at least you could have did this. Take what I gave you, put in the bank, because at least I could have got interest. But what you did, servant, was you put it in the ground. All I got now is dirty money. I don't know if he said that, but that's what I thought. Dirty money. You didn't take it and use it to your best ability. Look at what he said to him. He says, therefore, take away the talents from him and give them to the one who has 10 talents. So he took what he had and gave it to the one who had 10 talents. Verse 29. For to everyone who has, more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who does not have, even what he has shall be taken away. He was saying this guy invested, he did what was great, and because he was faithful, I'm going to give him more. The one who was not faithful, what he has will be taken from him because he was not faithful in investing and using it to his best ability. God has given me some opportunities. He's given me some talent, some skills. He's given me time. He's given me treasures. He's given me so much. If I were to compare myself to someone else, I would say, well, I'm not well off like that person. I'm not, rich. I'm not famous. I don't have a lot of connections. But that's not the issue. The issue is using what I do have, using the abilities that God has given me. Because he who's faithful over little will be given more. So as I'm faithful over the little that I do have, guess what? God will bless me and give me more as I'm faithful. And here's the focus. I want to make this very clear, because it is to me, that it's not about that the master gave them for their own purposes and uses. The master gave it for his purpose and his uses. And that's a whole different mindset. That what I have is not ultimately mine. Now I do own it, I do possess it, I'm to take care of it, but it has a higher purpose than me. That everything that I do, everything that I have, everything about me is not really about me. One of my favorite verses is Romans 11:36. For from him, through him, and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. For from him, through him, and to him are all things, including me. To him be the glory forever. Amen. That everything that I am, everything I have, is to be used for his glory and his honor. I think that's an awesome privilege. It doesn't make me less than. It puts me in the right perspective that all things belong to him and all things are for him. So what about you? Think about the time, the treasure, the abilities, the gifts God has given you, and what are you doing with them? And the question is, are you being faithful? Are you being faithful to use everything God has given you to your best ability? Not anyone else's ability, not mine, not anybody else you look at, but to your best ability. Because God will honor you when you choose to honor him with what you have. I remember working at the YMCA after school program in St. Louis, and I remember doing this illustration with these kids, and we titled it, Use the Best of Your Junk. Use the best of your junk. And the reason we named it the activity that was, I went to, I don't know where we went, but we went and got a bunch of just random things. I mean, just random as they could be. And I set these random things, whether it be toilet paper rolls, tissue, Legos, branches, just all kind of random things. And we set them on 3 different tables. Now, on some tables, like on table 1 and table 2, there were some things that were alike, but they were not on table 3. So each table, everything was a little different. There were some similarities, but everybody ultimately had different things on their table. But they were all given the same assignment. They were all told, hey, build something with it. As a group, you can build a playground, you can build a school, you can build a house, you can build a farm, build whatever you want to, but you got to build something. And so, gave them a time limit, said go. And they began to work, and one kid looked at the other table and said, oh, Mr. Brown, we don't have one of those. Well, you're not getting one. That's on their table. Use what's on your table. And the kids, at first, they were frustrated with that. I know I could do something great with what he has on his table, but I can't do what on my table. But complaint after complaint, I kept encouraging them, use the best of your junk. Use what you got. Don't worry about what anybody else has. Use what you have. And I wish I still had the pictures of what they came up with. Because after 20 minutes or so, and after they calmed down and started focusing on what they had, they made some incredible things. I'm talking about things that I didn't think they could make, things they didn't think they could make, but their focus was using what they had. The same thing is true for you. What do you have? What abilities, what gifts, what skills has God given you to use for his glory? Because, like my grandmama said, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.